Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this: you achieve something, you rise a little higher, and suddenly you hear whispers. Oh, they just got lucky. Anyone could do that. They must have cheated. Words like these aren't just harmless remarks. They are the sounds of insecurity echoing through the minds of those trapped in comparison. Jealousy isn't admiration, it's an admission of self-doubt. And those who cannot celebrate others will never experience true success themselves. So why do people say these things? What do these words reveal about them, and more importantly, what do they reveal about us when we fall into the same trap? This is what we will explore today. Because understanding jealousy isn't just about dealing with others, it's about freeing ourselves from a game we never needed to play. The mind loves to measure. It says they have more, I have less. They are above, I am below. But this measuring stick is an illusion. Look at the ocean. Does one wave compete with another? Does a tree envy the sky? The moment you compare, you step out of reality and into suffering. Jealous people always say the same words. They don't deserve it. But who decides what others deserve? They're not that special. As if belittling someone makes one rise higher. I could do that too if I wanted, yet they never do. These words reveal the silent suffering of the envious, not the faults of those they envy. The ego cannot stand to see others rise because it believes success is limited, like a cake with only so many slices. It says, if they win, I lose. But the truth is, someone else's success has no effect on your ability to thrive. The way out of jealousy is simple: stop measuring. Realize that another's success does not take away from you. Their light does not dim yours, it only shows you that more is possible. To be truly free, you must be at peace with where you are. Not complacent, but content. When you no longer need to compare, you discover a joy that jealousy can never steal. Let go of the race. There is no winner, no loser, only those who live fully and those who remain trapped in their own limitations. If you wish to be truly powerful, celebrate others. Their success is proof that you too can rise. And when you hear those words, they just got lucky. They don't deserve it, .. smile. Because you will know the truth. They are speaking not about others, but about themselves. The question is, will you? The illusion of comparison is one of the greatest tricks of the mind. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to measure ourselves against others. As children, we are praised for being better than someone else, faster, smarter, stronger. As adults, this continues in more subtle ways, where we silently compare our achievements, our looks, our possessions, and even our happiness to those around us. The mind, in its restless nature, creates a ladder of worth, placing some above and some below. And yet, this very act of measuring is what leads to suffering. Jealousy does not arise because someone has something we do not. It arises because we believe that what they have somehow diminishes us. If another person achieves success, the jealous mind does not see this as inspiration, but as a threat. It whispers, if they are winning, then I must be losing. This is the root of all envy, the belief that life is a competition, that success is a limited resource, and that our value is determined by how we rank against others. But this is an illusion. The ocean does not measure one wave against another, nor does the sky compare the heights of its clouds. It is only the human mind, trapped in its conditioning, that insists on dividing the world into winners and losers. When a person falls into jealousy, they are not actually angry at the success of another, they are frustrated with their own perceived shortcomings. Instead of facing this discomfort, they direct it outward. This is why jealous people always say things like, they just got lucky. The statement is not about the other person's success, but about their own inability to accept that they too could have achieved something similar if only they had acted differently. And so, instead of growing, they cling to their envy, using it as a shield against self-reflection. But what would happen if we stopped comparing? If we truly understood that someone else's gain does not mean our loss? What if we realized that every person is on a unique path and no two journeys can ever be the same? Then the need to be jealous would vanish. We would see that we were never in a race to begin with, and all that remains is the simple joy of being exactly where we are. Jealousy has a voice, and it always speaks in predictable patterns. The envious mind cannot remain silent. It must justify itself with words that conceal its true nature. Jealous people always say things that attempt to minimize, dismiss, or undermine the achievements of others. They utter phrases like, they just got lucky, or it's not that impressive, because deep down they are not upset at another person's success, they are frustrated with their own perceived inadequacy. Instead of confronting this feeling, they project it outward, disguising their envy as criticism or skepticism. When a person feels envious, their ego is wounded. The ego thrives on superiority, and when it perceives someone else rising, it panics. It cannot accept that another person's success does not mean its own failure, so it fabricates excuses. If someone works hard and achieves greatness, the jealous mind does not see effort, it sees unfair advantage. If someone is admired, the jealous mind does not see charisma, it sees manipulation. If someone is happy, the jealous mind does not see fulfillment, it sees pretense. Every success is rewritten into something unearned, undeserved, or unimpressive. But jealousy is rarely direct. Those who envy others will seldom admit it outright. Instead, they speak in veiled negativity. They say, "I could do that too, if I really tried," as if their potential never realized is somehow equal to another's accomplishment. They say, "It's not that special," as if their refusal to appreciate something makes it less valuable. They say, "There's probably something shady going on," because the thought of honest success is too painful for them to accept. Yet the most ironic thing about jealousy is that it never harms the person being envied. It does not take away their success, their joy, or their achievements. It only poisons the one who harbors it, making them bitter, restless, and incapable of true happiness. Jealous people spend their energy trying to convince themselves that others do not deserve what they have, instead of using that energy to improve themselves. And in doing so, they trap themselves in a cycle where no success, not even their own, will ever bring them peace. The ego is a master of deception, and jealousy is one of its most cunning tricks. It convinces us that we are in a battle with others, that life is a game where someone else's victory means our defeat. It whispers, "Look at them, why do they have more than you? Why are they praised while you are ignored? Why do they succeed while you struggle?" These thoughts are not insights, they are illusions, carefully crafted to keep us trapped in a cycle of envy and resentment. Jealousy is not simply a feeling, it is a distortion of reality. When we are envious, we do not see things as they are. We see them through the lens of lack. The ego magnifies one's achievements while diminishing our own. It tells us that their success must have come easily, that they must have cheated, that they must have had an unfair advantage. The ego does this to protect itself, because if it were to accept another's success as legitimate, it would be forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Perhaps they simply put in the effort that we did not. And rather than face this reality, the jealous mind invents excuses. The trickery of the ego is that it always places blame outside of itself. It refuses to acknowledge its own responsibility, choosing instead to resent those who have what it desires. This is why jealous people say things like, "They're not that talented," or "Anyone could have done that." These words are not expressions of truth, but of self-defense. To admit admiration would be to acknowledge personal insecurity, and the ego cannot tolerate such vulnerability. But here is the paradox: jealousy does not make us better, stronger, or more successful. It does not push us forward, it holds us back. The energy we waste on resenting others is energy that could have been used to improve ourselves. Yet the ego is so focused on proving its own worth through comparison that it forgets the most important truth of all: someone else's success has no power over us unless we give it power. The moment we recognize this, the illusion crumbles. The ego's deception is revealed, and we see jealousy for what it truly is: a game with no winner, a prison with no door, a fight that never needed to happen. Jealousy is a cycle, a repetitive pattern of thought that feeds itself, growing stronger each time we indulge in it. The moment we see someone else succeed, the mind reacts almost instinctively. It begins forming narratives why they don't deserve it, why they had an advantage, why we, in their place, would have done it better. And yet, no matter how much we convince ourselves of these things, a feeling remains. Resentment does not ease suffering, it deepens it. The more we compare, the more we suffer. The more we diminish others, the smaller we become. The more we seek to validate our jealousy, the more powerless we feel. But what if we stop playing this game? What if we refuse to give jealousy our attention? The first step to breaking the cycle is awareness, seeing jealousy not as a justified emotion, but as a self-inflicted wound. It is not caused by another person's success, but by our own belief that we are not enough. The envious mind does not see the years of struggle behind an achievement. It only sees the reward and feels deprived. But deprivation is an illusion. No one else's success takes away from our own potential. The second step is to question the thoughts that arise when jealousy appears. When the mind says, "They just got lucky," ask yourself, is that true? When it says, "I should have what they have," ask, why? And when it says, "I'll never be as good as them," ask, who told you that? Most of these thoughts are not conclusions we arrived at, they are conditioning we absorbed, unquestioned beliefs that we mistake for reality. The moment we challenge them, they lose their power. The final step is transformation. Instead of using another's success as a reason to feel less, use it as proof that more is possible. Instead of diminishing others, celebrate them. What we admire in others is a reflection of what we can become. The moment we stop resenting and start learning, the cycle of jealousy is broken. What was once a source of pain becomes a source of motivation. And in that shift, we move from envy to empowerment, from comparison to creation, from suffering to freedom. True freedom begins when we stop looking outward for validation and start embracing what we already are. The envious mind is always focused on what it lacks, constantly measuring itself against others, believing that happiness is something to be found elsewhere, in someone else's wealth, status, or recognition. But this is an endless chase. The more we seek fulfillment outside ourselves, the more we reinforce the belief that we are incomplete. Jealousy is not just about wanting what another has, it is the inability to appreciate what we already possess. When we envy someone, we assume that their success has somehow taken away from our own potential. But life is not a competition, and success is not a limited resource. The sun does not shine less brightly because another star appears in the sky. A river does not lose its flow because another stream has joined it. Yet the jealous mind refuses to see this. It operates from scarcity, believing that if someone else is winning, we must be losing. This is why those who lack self-contentment are the most envious. They see life as a battlefield, where their worth is constantly at risk. But when a person is truly at peace with themselves, jealousy dissolves. They do not need to diminish others to feel secure. They do not waste time gossiping, undermining, or wishing failure upon others, because their sense of fulfillment does not depend on comparison. A person who has found contentment understands that another's success is not a threat but an inspiration. They see proof that greatness is possible rather than a reason to feel small. Instead of resentment, they feel curiosity. Instead of competition, they feel connection. To reach this state, one must shift from seeking to appreciating. Instead of focusing on what is missing, one must learn to recognize what is already abundant. Gratitude is the antidote to jealousy, and presence is the cure for comparison. The moment we realize that fulfillment is not something to be chased, but something to be cultivated within, the weight of envy lifts. What once felt like a struggle for validation becomes an effortless state of peace. And in this space, jealousy has no room to exist because there is nothing left to prove, only a life left to fully experience. The mind, when trapped in competition, sees life as a race where there must always be winners and losers. This is the foundation of jealousy, the belief that if someone else is rising, they must be falling. It is a mindset built on comparison, an endless loop of measuring where we stand in relation to others. But the truth is, life is not a leaderboard. There is no grand scoreboard tallying who is ahead and who is behind. The only competition we are ever truly in is with ourselves, yet the envious mind refuses to accept this. It craves external validation, looking not for personal progress but for reassurance that it is better than someone else. But what if we stepped out of this game entirely? What if we no longer saw others as rivals but as reflections of what is possible? The moment we transcend the competitive mind, something profound happens. Jealousy vanishes. Because we no longer define our worth by where we stand compared to others. We no longer feel the need to discredit or undermine those who succeed. Instead of resenting their achievements, we learn from them. Instead of feeling threatened, we feel inspired. People who are truly secure in themselves do not compete, they create. They do not waste energy tearing others down because they are too focused on building their own path. They understand that another person's success does not block their own, but expands the possibilities of what can be achieved. This shift in perspective is what separates those who remain trapped in envy from those who rise beyond it. Those who cling to jealousy remain stuck in the illusion of limitation. Those who release it step into the freedom of abundance. Transcending the competitive mind does not mean abandoning ambition. It means redefining it. It means no longer striving to be better than someone else, but instead striving to be better than we were yesterday. It means finding fulfillment in our own journey rather than obsessing over someone else's. The mind that has freed itself from competition is not concerned with whether others are ahead or behind it, is only concerned with moving forward in its own way, at its own pace, for its own reasons. And in that space of clarity, jealousy has no place, because there is no longer a need to compare, only a desire to grow. Jealousy is a prison of the mind, built from illusions of comparison and sustained by the false belief that another's success diminishes our own. It tricks us into seeing life as a competition where every gain by someone else is a loss for us. But the moment we see through this illusion, we realize a simple truth: there is no race, no ranking, no scarcity. The success of others does not take away from us, it simply reveals what is possible. The words of jealous people, they don't deserve it, it's not that impressive, they just got lucky, are not reflections of reality but of their own insecurities. And when we understand this, we stop taking such words seriously. More importantly, we stop speaking them ourselves. Instead of competing, we create. Instead of resenting, we learn. Instead of envying, we evolve. Freedom from jealousy comes when we stop looking outward for validation and start embracing our own path. The only real success is personal growth, and the only real failure is wasting time measuring ourselves against others. When we recognize that fulfillment does not come from being better than others, but from being fully ourselves, the need to compare disappears. And in that space of clarity, we find something far greater than fleeting success. We find true peace.